what it's like making money with indie game development. The last video we watched was basically the guy saying, since games take so long to make and at the end of the journey you don't know if you're selling your game, it's best to sell art because then you can be sure that you're selling the art while you're making the game and earning money. I think the sentiment that we got from this was a little bit too negative, aka it's very unlikely that you're gonna sell your game. But since it's so unlikely, how about you just make some art and sell the art? Which it can take focus away from making the game. It can work as well, and there's multiple ways to do that. It doesn't need to be 3D art and pixel art too. But I feel like we need to know a little bit more what it's like to make money as an indie game developer. Let's see. Are they already earning money with their game? What is it called? The game? Why is it not here? I don't understand why these people never link their game as the first thing. So that's the game. It's not out yet though. So I wonder how they are earning money. Let's see.
Hey guys, I'm Brandon from Sasquatch Bee Studios, and if you don't know my story, over 2 years ago now, I quit my job, I sold my house, and my wife and I have been building this indie game dev studio together. And most of you
I mean, studio, you mean house?
watching this are probably indie developers. And I know that a lot of you watching this are working on your games part-time.
Holy moly, man. This guy has a crazy camera. Holy moly. What's this? Is that a coffee mug? That's huge, man. This guy needs a lot of coffee, bro.
I'm outside of a normal full-time job. And I know that for a lot of you, getting to the point where you're actually able to quit your job and work on games full-time is the ultimate dream. So I just want to...
It's the ultimate dream, and you shouldn't do it too early. I did it way too early in my journey, and then I had a bunch of trouble with bills piling up. So you should quit your job when you have a demo version out on Steam. You have a demo version out on Steam, and that's not the only thing. The demo version needs to have a constant 1 to 2 players every day. That's a reasonably good sign. And we just got some feedback or some example of a game that actually had that. Let me show you, because I think that's important. And yes, it's already 28 seconds in, but I think it's important to say this at the very beginning, okay? Not at the end, at the beginning. Because then people, you know, see, like, listen. So here's a game from a viewer that we played today. You can see that we have 1 player right now. There's a 24-hour peak of 6 players. And the game released to about 1 to 2 players on Steam. It took him about a year to make this game. Well, 9 months. And he sold a surprisingly high amount of units, over 1,000 units. So with this money, and the game sold for, let me show you. Actually, I need to open up Steam for this. Give me a sec. Actually, let's do this. On Steam, there we go. The game sits at 29 reviews. So it's not that many reviews, yet the game sold surprisingly well. And that's amazing, because then you can use this money and the first game as your springboard for your next game. And as you should only quit your game when you already have a game out or a Steam demo version out that tells you that the game is good. And you need to have a baseline of 1 to 2 players every day. Better yet, about a medium playtime on your demo of more than 10 minutes minimum. Otherwise, when you quit your job, you start selling your game, you will be left with a couple of sales, maybe less than 10 reviews for ages, and you will starve to death. Very likely that that's going to happen. Not saying that it will happen, but it's very likely. Comparatively to other games that we have seen.
Share my reality of what it's been like
including my game, by the way, including my game.
Be a full-time entrepreneur running an indie studio. And just to paint you a little picture so that you've got the full story, I do not have employees. I have not made it big. I'm still working on my first game, and I'm not working on it full-time.
Okay, so then how do you earn money when you haven't released the game yet? So
not even
that's a
close,
bit interesting.
because the stuff that's actually been paying the bills takes up the majority of my time. But as I...
Aha, so he's trying to pay the bills before releasing the first game, which is, in my opinion, that's what I'm trying to do too. This is the hard mode. In my opinion, you shouldn't quit your job and try to pay the bills with an unfinished project. You should start to... See, do it like Kenshi. Here's a good example. I'm pausing so much. I'm so sorry. I will stop pausing after this. I promise you. I will stop pausing, okay? Kenshi. Now, obviously, you can't make Kenshi. Well, it depends, right? But Kenshi went into early access. Copium. Copium. Kenshi went into early access, and ever since going into early access a very long time ago, it's been paying the bills for the developer. And he had to have a side job in the very beginning. Look at this, 9 years ago. There we go, 160 players. Ever since this happened, he's been able to fund the game. It's just been growing. Look at these numbers. It's amazing. And so, if you want to quit your job, have at least something out that pays your bills, unless you just want to become a YouTuber or streamer. Then do that. Listen, I've been trying to be game developer, YouTuber, streamer for 3 years now. It's slowly going up, but man, it's so much hard work, and it's easier to just release a game, see if it sells well, and then quit your job with those sales. You will move faster if your goal is to be a game developer. That's the important part.
Recently said in our Q&A video, we're squeaking by. We're managing to pay our bills with this studio. And we've been living off of savings from the sale of our house for a really long time. That was our shortcut into getting to do this full time. So let me just say, first and foremost,
are you still working on the show?
That I would never recommend that anyone take this path. Obviously, you should always, first and foremost, do what is best for you and what's best for your family. But we made a big jump. We took a big risk. I've always been prepared to have to go back to get a full-time job if I had to, but it's never reached that point. Now, I just want to say that running a game studio and figuring out how to pay the bills with an indie studio is a challenge and a joy. There are a lot of contradictory emotions when it comes to doing this. There are hardships, there are triumphs. And I don't want to scare you away from chasing your dreams, but I also don't want to coddle you and make you think that every day is like Christmas doing this either. I just want to tell you what it's been like for us, because my experience is the only one I know. Now, my experience...
What am I reading? He can't hear you, bro. It's a YouTube video. I know. I'm still nodding though, okay?
Has been that you will both suffer from and fall in love with the entrepreneurship factor, which is waking up in the morning when you decide to wake up in the morning, having nowhere to go and nothing to do that day except where you decide to go and what you decide to do. And that is both.
You work on the game. I mean, it's obvious. You work on the game. Like you wake up, you work on the game, bro. What do you mean? Well, I guess you don't have to, but you gotta work on the game. Right?
Both amazing and absolutely terrifying at the same time. But after you quit your job, you'll be riding a high on that for a little while. But No, you won't.
Unless maybe he did. Okay, so yes, you do. Because the value of being able to do what you love is awesome, but you will feel bad at the same time if you don't have anything that supports you at that very moment and you know that you're running on a timer. That stress is immeasurable. You have no idea. I lost my cable again. Bro, stop it. The stress of having no income and knowing that your income or your savings will run out, bro, that's insane. I'm telling you. Are you in a dressing
gown? Have a mortgage,
No, I'm
or
in
rent.
a bath.
You have gas and your car and hydro and water and internet and cell phones, and you don't even have benefits anymore to go to the dentist or get new glasses or anything like that. Why do you think I've been wearing crooked glasses for the last 2 years on this channel? But it's life, right? You have all these things that you need to pay for, and you have no stable paycheck or knowledge of where 100% of your future revenue is going to come from. So you get to work at your own pace, you get to set your own hours, and you get to work on whatever you feel like working on that day until you feel like being done.
I think that's the best part, being able to work on what you feel like working on. That's
for the day. But as an indie developer, if you're doing it full time, especially if you're like us at this studio and you're kind of still finding your footing and you don't have any game revenue coming in from past games, then you've probably got some hard choices to make. One of them is, what is the right action to take that day? Because for some of you, and this is the case for me a lot of the time, working on your game, for me, working on Samurado, that's not always the best course of action for me to take that day, which sounds really weird because I'm a game developer. But currently, on a day-to-day basis, working on...
I think that's a very special situation that 95% of people don't have. 95% of people that want to make a game, they don't quit their job early. They make the game next to their job. So for them, it's finding the free time to work on the game. And I did that before I started quitting my job. It was in the mornings before waking up. That was the best time for me to work on the game because I knew that early in the morning, no one was up. No one was going to bother me, email me, telephone me. There was no person in my room. Everyone was sleeping and it was completely quiet. So that's when I got the best work in. And you are fresh waking up. So, well, most people are not fresh when they wake up. I'm fresh when I wake up. So that means my brain is at maximum loading capacity. It's fully loaded, charged, and I can just put all of that energy into working 2 to 3 hours, a reasonable amount of time, and you get so much done. What he's describing is the path that not many people do, is where you quit your job before you actually even have a concept of a game. You might just have an idea and you have dabbled in game development before. Which I think is yeah, as you said, dumb path to take.
On my game
it's not
doesn't pay the bills. It will eventually pay
the game doesn't pay the bills, so you have to find something else to pay the bills. And your options are as follows. You sell art. You sell maybe game code if you're doing Unreal stuff. You sell asset packs for Unity. And you can maybe sell a very, very small game, but that means you're not working on your game. And you might be able to find some freelance work, or you're going the YouTuber route, which is very risky. You can literally sit there for years and not even get 1,000 subscribers. All of these routes are really bad. Like they are so bad. And the thing is, also, when you make YouTube videos about game development, no one cares about that because you haven't released a game yet, aka you haven't proven to anyone that you can actually make a game. So why should I listen? So why should anyone listen to me? I have the same problem. I'm telling you, that's the bad route. You should stay in your job. That's the best thing.
But until it's made, it's not going to pay me anything. So for us at this studio, a big part of our entrepreneurship factor is figuring out, okay, how can we work on Samurado and continue to make progress on this game all the time while finding ways to earn enough to pay our bills that month so that we can continue to work on our game.
They make YouTube.
That's ultimately why we decided to stop just focusing on devlogs on this channel and make so much more content. I'm still neck deep in indie content every single day that I'm working, whether it's working on Samurado or writing the script for this video, or making a Unity tutorial, or talking to sponsorship partners and just dealing with all of that. I love what I do.
I see. So the way they earn money is by sponsorship money from YouTube as well. That's also reasonable. I don't always get
to work on my game as much as I would like, and it drives me crazy. So if you were planning on starting your own studio...
Bro, title always says working on demo, but when I hop in, he never works on the demo. You're actually... listen, man, you just got bad timing. We've literally been working on the demo for over 2 hours, okay? You just got unlucky. Okay, I always work for at least minimum 1 to 2 hours every day on the demo. And I need to be quiet. Yeah, I will. I'm so sorry. Warum? Warum? In 10? 10? Ach so, weil die rauskommen. Okay, tut mir leid. I'm sorry. Okay. Guys,
so this might not be the case.
We must flüstern right now, okay? So, be quiet.
For you, but it could be that you might need to think about what kind of studio you want to run. Because at least as far as I can see it, there are only 2 kinds. One is the kind that works 100% full-time on...
I love this game. This guy is the inspiration for me making games, by the way. He's the one that pushed me to make games. How many of you guys got inspired by the Stardew Valley creator? Put a 1 in chat if you got inspired by Concerned Ape making a game. In my opinion, he is the number 2. This chat is
on their game. It's obviously possible. There are lots of studios out there that do this. The second kind is the kind that works part-time on their game and part-time on other revenue-generating activities, which I think is the case for a lot of indie developers who also have YouTube channels. So it's possible to work on your game full-time, but if you are working full-time on your game, How are you keeping the lights on? Did you accumulate some savings? Did you find a grant or an investor?
Savings,
or maybe you
YouTube,
found a publisher
streaming,
or you got a Kickstarter funded. But no matter where your funding came from, there are going to be expectations of when your game is going to be released.
I don't like funding.
So there's just a lot of all this in running your own.
I don't like funding because it puts you on a timer, essentially. I think funding is bad. And maybe there's even an obligation contractually that tells you that you have to put away 10% of the money and give that back to the guys that funded you. So you're missing out on revenue at the end, only to have an easier development curve. I think it's easier to just have a side job.
Indie studio.
And then also use the money from the side job to feed yourself, but also pay people to do art. Look at Code Games. Okay, that's the last example, I promise you guys, but then we move on, okay? Code Games made a game like this. Rogue Blight. We played the game. It's an amazing game. He was even featured by Asmongold on his stream. You guys probably have heard about this. He made a demo recently that got very popular. He has 665 followers on Steam and he has close to 10,000 wish lists by this point. So if he were to release the game, he would easily get the 10 reviews. He's my friend? Really? Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. He's doing it right. He's working on a job, working on a game, and he's putting the money into art and sound effects and music. And listen, I'll show you a small clip. A little bit. Just a little bit.
Fought countless battles.
He has a nice narration voice. Look at this. Really good stuff.
Across this cursed land.
All looks very high professional. You know, it's awesome. It's really awesome. I think that's the right way to do it. He's been working for years on this, yeah. While it's working.
Non-game dev related things. There's a lot of business. There's a lot of money discussions and budgeting and all of that. I like to think of myself as a...
I haven't bought myself socks or boxer shorts, aka undergarments, in over 5 years.
Creative.
They have holes everywhere, man. Guys, when we release the game and we are remotely successful, we're gonna go out into the store and buy ourselves some other.
And constantly having to mix business stuff with creative stuff isn't always my favorite thing. I don't want to have to think about money, but this is the reality of running an indie studio. So if you're thinking about starting your own indie studio, there are a million ways of getting funding and finding success in this industry. But no matter which road you go down, there are going to be a lot of elements involved that are not game dev. And a lot of them are not fun, but they are important. So let's talk about time for a second. On a regular workday, I get up, I get the kids ready for school, I drop them off, and then I come home to an empty house with my wife and complete and total freedom. Now, I've noticed that there are two ways that this can go, and it's weird. One is you might suddenly start noticing all of the stuff around the house that needs to get done. The dishes, the laundry, the garden needs weeding.
No, I think that's normal. So have you guys ever noticed you need to do something, but then you clean up your room first? You know what this is called? You make yourself feel good, get something done. It's procrastination at one point, but it also makes you keep your house in check. It's procrastination, yes, but it's also giving you a good feeling, a sense of accomplishment, because you feel like the one that you're going to do is not going to give you any accomplishment. It is a form of procrastination, but it's also a good thing.
Something in the house is broken and you need to repair it. Or you might even just be feeling really lazy all of a sudden and you just have trouble forcing yourself to get to work for that day. Okay, that's one way. But I often struggle with the other thing that often happens, which is you sit down and you start working and you don't know how or when to stop working. When I had a job, any job, I never really cared about how much I got done in a workday. I did enough to keep my boss off of my back, but when 4:30 hit, that was it. I was done. And I never gave work a second thought. When you're...
My man, Mr. Amida, thank you so much for gifting 2 subs to the community, bro. I really appreciate the support, man. I do the bad type of procrastination, like watching game dev streamers. Like me. I think what you should do, and I have the same thing sometimes, try to work undisturbed for an hour. Or if you can't do an hour, do 15 minutes. What you do here is you close every single application on your computer other than your coding editor, whether that be Unity, Unreal Engine, whatever you use. You close all of that and then you do that for 15 minutes. You can time it. And most of the time, that 15 minutes turns into way more than that. And that's these little things. If you just say 15 minutes, that will allow you to get way more progress done, because usually you are extending the 15 minutes, get way more progress done than watching a video or watching a streamer on the other side and then trying to work at the same time. Because you will be distracted a lot, you need to back into it, then you get distracted by someone else calling you, then you're getting back into it. It's so much distraction that over the course of 2 hours, you get less done than in 20 minutes. You know Tokyo Spliff Cakes? He literally works 12 hours straight without even eating food sometimes. Yeah, but he is. Oh, and that's amazing. I couldn't do that because I'm addicted to food. Okay, but he smokes. So smoking is a form of Ablenkung in English that I don't know the word of, that helps you get over your food cravings a little bit. So when I was smoking at teenage years, I never really had any issues with food. Alcohol got calories into. Does he drink alcohol as well? Well, I guess. But yeah. Leaning, same. So yeah, smoking can just, is it distraction?
Running your own studio, at least my experience has been, I never really feel like I'm done my work day, ever, at any point in the day. Maybe I edited a whole tutorial that day. Who cares? I didn't get any Samarado time in. Maybe I spent a whole day working on Samarado. Who cares? I didn't manage to record my podcast or record my video that day. There's always, always, always more to be done. So I work until my kids are done school, and then I go and I pick them up, bring them home, and then I usually work until dinner time. We make supper and...
Okay, and what do you do with the kids? They just play with each other or something? Like, you're not watching over kids? Is your wife watching over the kids? What are the kids doing? You need to watch over the kids too, bro. Huh?
We eat, and I spend a little bit of time with my kids, but I still didn't get everything done on my list, so back to work I go. And on a lot of days, it's bedtime, and I'm still on my computer working.
Yeah,
and
that's
I'm
for me
sure
too.
that this sounds absolutely miserable.
I think that's normal, even if you're just working on the game. The Stardew Valley creator had the same issue. He was working 10, 12-hour days sometimes. Sometimes, not all the time, sometimes. I think that's just normal. You're working on something that you love doing, and you just don't stop because there's always something more to do.
Here's the thing, though. I love the work that I do. And what's more is I care about the work that I do, unlike what I did at my job. I take pride in the work that I do. I'm in my late 30s and I'm making way less money than I did when I was in my early 20s. But I love what I do, which I think is more important. But the great part about the entrepreneurship factor is if I run this indie studio right, then my income should continue to increase from this business. I don't want to put the message out there that if you're running your own indie studio, you will be poor unless you make a smash hit. That absolutely does not have to be true. So the reality has
I think he's got a good point here. That's how I see it too. So for example, I try to find ways to earn money and earn a living without relying 100% on my game. The game will be in addition to what I already earn and hopefully push me, let's say, over the edge of, let's call that unemployment, being I don't have to have a side job anymore. That would be the most amazing thing in the world. But I'm trying to get to a point where, despite the game being good or bad, I would still be able to support myself, because then we can solely focus on making good games. And I think that's a much better environment for breeding good games than stressful times of, oh, I can't pay my bills, I need to bring it out right now. I think that's a good point. So he thinks the same I do. And I think that's nice. But I think it's better to just release the game and work on your side job. Keep working your job and then release the game when it's done, see how it does, and then quit the job after that.
Has felt a lot more like I'm trying to run and operate a profitable business more than I'm just sitting in my office coding my dream game all day long. It's been a lot of time management, budgeting, working on YouTube, and yes, working on my game as well. It's been a very different
Okay, is there a breakdown of how much you earn on different things?
Journey than I thought it would be when I first started, but I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. Running an indie studio for me has a lot of elements that I don't necessarily like, but everything else offsets that. It's still incredible and it's still the ultimate dream. And I owe it all to you guys. I want to say thank you. Thank you for tuning in and watching the videos. Thank you to my patrons. None of this would be possible without you guys. If you enjoyed the video, then thank you if you leave a like or a comment. See you in the next one. Bye.
Peace. Okay, so Okay, so, bro, I didn't click on that.
Hey, you guys.
So fast, brother. Did not click on this. So that's another one that's mostly doesn't apply to like 95% of game developers out there, which is a bit unfortunate. Do you have a Patreon? Yeah, but I'm not advertising it. I advertised my code on Patreon, but listen, it's already too much. I don't want to advertise Patreon. I will switch to something else in the future. Did you make a progress on the game today, Cakez? Yes, I did. I did. Make some decent progress. I think you becoming a Twitch streamer is better than an indie game developer. After this game, maybe work on games for fun. I want to continue to make big games, but I want to continue to be a streamer too, yes. So for me, and that also doesn't apply to almost anyone out there, it's more fun to stream and make games than to just make games. Because I like the discussion around games. And so for everyone it's different, but for the majority of people, when you're making your game for the first time, it's best to stay in your job and fund the game development and not go down the route that I went down or this guy went down, because it's too risky. That being said, however, there are very good success stories that worked out when you quit your job and basically set everything on one card. But again, I think it's best to follow the example. It's best to follow the example of the Stardew Valley creator. Have a side job if that's enough to support yourself. Part-time job is reasonable, and then put all the other time into making your game. Follow Cakez on Instagram, become a Patreon subscriber, buy Cakez Craftings on Etsy, match Cakez on Grindr. That's how you advertise. Anyways, okay, good video. I wish them the best of luck with their first game. Hopefully it does well. And here's the link if you want to support them further.
Hello.
He didn't have a side job? He did have a side job. He was working as I don't know the name, but for hotels.